From the studios of 7 Perth, Susannah Carr.
Good evening. The Australian flag has been set alight and spat on by Aboriginal children during an angry protest outside federal parliament. They were encouraged by tent embassy activists who've been widely condemned for the security scare involving Julia Gillard and Tony Abbott. Security experts say the Prime Minister's bodyguards acted appropriately by dragging her and shoving her into the back of a car. It's not the first time an Australian politician has been targeted. A former Premier admits confrontations with demonstrators can be terrifying. There could be changes to next year's Skyworks after disappointing crowd numbers in the city last night. Perth City spends $1 million a year on the event. It costs the council will review to see if it's money well spent. Sally Bowrey reports.
An unexpected element at this year's Skyworks stole the show. The hottest Australia Day in 33 years. Scorching 42-degree heat, capped off by summer storms. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in 2 hours. Not cool enough for some, crowd numbers down this year, 200,000 people in the city, half the number seen 5 years ago. Lord Mayor Scafidi says smaller crowds have cast doubt on the future of Skyworks. The City of Perth will review whether the event's $1.5 million price tag is good value if big crowds continue to stay away. The event could be scaled down to cut costs.
Perhaps we don't provide as much activity during the day if the behaviour patterns have changed. Perhaps we don't need the same scale of infrastructure given the improved behaviours.
Skyworks is now a family affair. Police say booze bans have kept troublemakers away.
There's no doubt that the yobbo element that we saw some years ago was absent last night and was also absent last year.
There were 139 arrests for Skyworks events across WA. Most of the trouble for police outside of official events, like this out-of-control house party in Gosnells, where 2 police officers were injured. One of the biggest surprises on the night, the unexpected change in weather. Picnic blankets became shelter, plastic bags, raincoats. The summer storm, the best part for many, a sky-high competition, man versus nature. Sally Bowrey, 7 News.
And the heatwave continues in Perth, but Natalia Cooper, there is an end in sight.
Yes, that's right. So the temperature hit 31.7 degrees today. Not quite as hot as expected, but we're still in the middle of a heat wave. We've now had 4 days over 35 degrees. Yesterday was the hottest of the bunch, a top of just under 42. We're going for 42 again tomorrow. But the scorching heat should come to an end on Sunday when the temperature is expected to reach 34. So I'll have more details later in weather.
Thanks, Natalia. There's a cyclone threatening our northwest, moving towards the Pilbara coast. Cyclone Iggy is a Category 2 storm, but is forecast to build to Category 3 over the weekend. 7 News reporter Grant Taylor is in Karratha. Thanks, Grant. Smoke alarms are at the centre of an inquest into the deaths of a Perth mother and her 2 sons. Cosette Pickering and her 2 young boys died on Good Friday almost 5 years ago in a Holmes West house fire. Emmy Kabansky reports. A police officer has been run down by his own patrol car when it was stolen by a suspected burglar. Blake Johnson is at Royal Perth Hospital. And Blake, how is the officer?
So the detective sergeant has pretty bad concussion, cuts and bruises and no doubt very sore feet after the car ran over them. He'd pulled over another car in Maddington last night to speak to some suspected burglars when one of them got out of the car, jumped into the police Subaru WRX and took off. The officer was knocked unconscious when the open door flung him to the ground. Now, the Subaru's engine was left running when the officers got out to check on that other car. The police commissioner says that is standard practice because of the tracking devices, radios and computers fitted to them.
If the car is turned off and those things are left running, then and the officers are out of the vehicle for 10 or 15 minutes, often they come back and they find the battery's flat. So our operating instructions are that they should keep it running.
The car was dumped a few kilometres away. The man who stole it still hasn't been found. So
Thanks, Blake. New Labour leader Mark McGowan has shaken up his shadow cabinet just a few days after taking over the leadership. The biggest change is to reinstate Ben Wyatt as shadow treasurer, a job Mr Wyatt lost after his failed bid to topple former leader Eric Ripper last year.
In terms of capacity, knowledge, experience, energy and vitality, my team is streets ahead of Mr Barnett's.
Mr McGowan has created several new portfolios, including a shadow minister for suburbs, Upper House MP Ken Travers. It's too late for tomorrow night's final, but tennis officials will be cracking down on the grunting that's grating TV audiences. The screech has reached deafening levels from some female players, and tournament organisers can't help but hear spectators' complaints. And coming up next on 7 News, Australia's space race. The bid to build the world's most powerful telescope here in WA. And the dumped yellow wiggle shows off his new moves.